Shabbat Shalom. Amir.
Yarutz avdach kimo haya nishtachaveh mul hadarach ki yerav lo yedidutach minofetzu v'chotam Aleina ufros aviv alai et sukat shelomach ta'ir eretz mikvodach nagila v'nismecha bach ma'erahum Givamoen vehoneni ki meolam na 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 na
Lechu Niranana, page 11.
Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu lechu niranena, Adonai. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu lechu niranena, Adonai. Naria, naria, letzui shenu, nikad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzui shenu, bizmiro naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu lechu neranena, Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu lechu neranena, Adonai.
We continue together on page 14, Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo.
On page 20, Romemu Adonai.
Nai, nai, nai. Nay, 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 yai, nay, 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 yai, nay, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'eshtachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'eshtachavu le'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romeinu ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romeinu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu ve'har kojo Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu ve'har kojo ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu.
I ask that if you're able to do so, please rise. Page 21, Mizmor LeDavid.
Mizmor LeDavid Havu Adonai B'Nelim Havu Adonai Kavod Shemo Havu Adonai Kavod Shemo Havu Adonai V'Adrat Kodesh Kol Adonai Al Hamayim El HaKavod Hirim Adonai Al Mahim Ravim Kol Adonai Ba'koach Kol Adonai Be'adar Kol Adonai Shover Arazim Vayishaber Adonai El Zehavadon Vayar Kidem Kemo Egel Levanon Besiyon Kemo Ben Remim Kemo Ben Remim Ay Kol Adonai Koten Labotesh Kol Adonai Yakil Midbar Yakil Adonai Midbar Kadesh Kol Adonai Kol Vayalot Vayechesof Ye'arot Uvechalo Kulo Omer Kavod Ay Adonai Lamabon Yashav Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Oz Ve'amo Yiten Adonai Yevarek Et Amo Vashalom Nai
Please be seated. We continue on page 22, Ana B'Koach. Adonai, if you would, may your mighty right hand undo the knot that ties us up. Accept the prayers of your people. You who are revered, raise us up and cleanse us.
Ana B'Koach Gedulat Yemincha Tatet Serura Kaberinat Amcha Sagvenu Tarenu Nora Ana B'Koach Gedulat Yemincha Tatet Serura Kaberinat Amcha Sagvenu Tarenu Nora Hana B'Koach Gedulat Yemincha tatet serura, kaberina tamecha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Na gibor dorshe Yehudcha kevavat shomrem barchem taharem rachamem sidkatecha tamid gomlem ana bekoach gdul al yemincha tatit serura, kaverina tamecha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Nai 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 nai. Nine 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 nine.
Our tradition speaks of Shabbat as if it's a beautiful bride walking down the aisle on her wedding day. We anticipate Shabbat with Lecha Dodi, page 23.
Nine 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 Shabbat nekabela lechadodi ligrakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmi'anu el hamichad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'nitchila lechadodi Nigrakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Nigrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh v'machshavat chila lechadodi nigrakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech Ir melucha kumitziya mitocha vekarav lachshevet ve'mekabecha ve'hu yachamol Allahi chemla lechadodi lingrakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Hina'ari me'afar kumiya livshi b'dei Tifartecha mi'aliyad ben Yishai Ve'halach mi'akarva nafshi ge'ala lechadodi ligrakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri ki ba'orech Kumi uri שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה, והחדודי לגרק עלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושיע ולא תקרמי, מה תשתוכחיה, ומה תקרמי בקקסוע, אני עמי ונבנתה. עיר אצילה, והחדותי לגרק עלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו לשמשה שעושייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסחוס חתן, חתן או כלה, והחדותי לגרק עלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תברוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש, בן הפרצי ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לגרק עלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוניה, עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לגרק עלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לגרק עלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. We continue on page 27, Mizmor Shir Le'om HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור של יום השבת. מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור של יום השבת. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, באמונתך בלילות. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, באמונתך בלילות. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב טוב להודות לאדוני.
Page 29, Adonai Malach. We declare God is sovereign of the universe.
Adonai Malach Gehud Lavesh, Lavesh Adonai Hozit Azar, Aftikon Tevel Batimot, Aftikon Tevel Batimot. Nachon Kisachar Meaz, Me'olam Ata. Sehu neharot kolam yiseu neharot toyam mikolot maim rabim adirim mishpereyam adir bamarom Adonai adir bamarom Adonai erotecha ne'omnu me'on ve'itcha nava kodesh Adonai leorek yamim Adonai leorek yamim mikolot maim rabim adirim mishpereyam adir bamarom Adonai adir bamarom Adonai.
I ask that we please rise as we heed the call to worship together. The Baruch Hu can be found on page 39b.
Nai nai na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai nai ya na nai 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 ya na nai na 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 nai na na nai na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai ya na nai 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 ya na nai na 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 nai Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed na 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 Nai nai na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai nai ya na nai 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 ya na nai na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai nai ya na nai 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 ya na nai nai ya na nai Umavir yom umevin laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai Tzevaot Shemo Adonai Tzevaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim
Ahavat Olam, page 40.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot Ukimu mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shokbeinu uvkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki chem chayenu ve'orech yameinu Ve'orech yameinu V'achem neged yomam v'layla ve'avatecha al tasser mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ועם שמות אותך ישראל. ויאמר השם ישראל למען תזכרו Adonai Elohechem emet.
Page 44, Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha.
Nai 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 nai. Mi chamocha pa'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot tosef eleh, nora tehilot tosef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Nai 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 Adonai nai 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 nai.
Hashkivenu, page 45.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeitenu Shalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
Avinu Shebashamayim, shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, our God, please watch us and deliver us. And you are our God. You are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Please ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu
I ask us to please rise on page 46 as we sanctify Shabbat together, Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם.
Hatzi Kaddish, page 46.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דברך ירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה.
Yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר וירמה וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקדושה
Berichu.
לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו amen.
The Amidah for Friday night is on page 47. Please use the words of the Siddur or private meditations of your heart. those of you still praying your Amidah, please continue to do so. The rest of us may be seated. We'll continue on page 51 with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Oseh Shalom is on page 52.
Oseh Shalom v'romav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. Oseh Shalom b'romav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. Oseh Shalom b'romav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. Oseh Shalom b'romav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. Oseh Shalom b'romav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen. Oseh Shalom b'romav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'meru amen.
Kaddish Shalom, page 54.
יתקרא ויגרשם מרבה, ועמד דברה כרתי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חוני ומחוני וחייתו בישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ומרו, אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם עולם מעלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר וירמה וינשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קדושה, בריחו לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירון מעלמה ואמרו, אמן תתקבץ לו תהונה ואותהון לכל ישראל, קודמה והונה ושמיה ואמרו, אמן יהי שלום הרב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, אמן עושה שלום ממרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm looking at the monitor with all of you on Zoom, and it's really wonderful to see you. Sometimes I have a love-hate relationship with technology, but it's wonderful to see you in your homes enjoying yourself. Most of you are smiling. Most of you are having a good time. And hi. I have a list. I know who I want to hug the next time I see them. I know who I want to shake hands with, and I know who I want to high five. So just know that even though you're not in here with us, you're still very much a part of our community, and we miss you, and we hope you're doing well. And the good thing is if I give a bad sermon, you can't throw tomatoes at me where you're seated. So sit back and enjoy. And for the rest of us, everybody, you can't throw tomatoes either. A couple weeks ago, I wrote a Shabbat article about a family member's dog, and a lot of people seem to like it. I got good feedback, so I'll give you another dog story. This one's brief. It's about my aunt and uncle. They bought, a number of years ago when I was a little boy, they bought a purebred Chow puppy, and they named him Shiloh, and Shiloh was basically their little fur baby. He got to eat lunch meat and scraps from the table. He had a big backyard to play in. Shiloh got to sleep on this pillow the size of a truck next to the fireplace. Shiloh had it made. If there is reincarnation, just tell God you want to come back as Shiloh, because that's a good gig. Well, when I was younger, I would go and work outside of my aunt and uncle's property in the Texas heat. And sometimes when I would come back inside, I would forget to lock the gate to their backyard. And when I would forget to do this and the gate would be wide open, Shiloh would take off. He would run all around the neighborhood, and we would have to get in my uncle's truck, go track him down, lure him back into the truck with a piece of lunch meat or something. It was a whole ordeal. So after a couple years of Shiloh being the only dog, my aunt and uncle found this other dog that was a stray dog, and this dog was ugly, and this dog was really mean. I mean, talk about definition of a street dog. And I can only imagine that before they got this dog, some kids had been mean to it or thrown rocks at it, because this dog did not like kids at all. It would bark and growl at me when I was a little boy. It would try to bite one of my brothers. Anyway, they took this dog in, and they named her Shelly. Shiloh and Shelly. So after a while, Shelly began to calm down. I think once they showed her some love, she actually became a really nice dog, and she really appreciated living with him, especially after years of living on the streets. Now she had it made, and so she stopped being so mean, and we noticed something. One day, when I accidentally left the gate open, and of course, Shiloh, their Chow puppy, took off down the streets, Shelly would stay put in the backyard. Even if that gate was wide open, she wasn't going anywhere. So what do these dogs have to do with our Parsha? Well, stay tuned, I'll tell you at the end. Some people, including biblical scholars or anthropologists, they like to suggest that the events in the book of Shemot and the book of Exodus didn't actually happen. They point to the events in our Parsha, Beshalach, and they say that it would be impossible for the Sea of Reeds to part. They say it would be impossible for that amount of people to survive in the wilderness. And they say that if an Egyptian army drowned, as described in our Torah, there would be artifacts that we could discover and that we could analyze. However, I want to disagree with all of these people because it's obvious to me that the events of Exodus took place as described, because if you read the Torah's account of everything that went down, and if you look at the dialogue of what the Jews tell Moses, or I guess I should say how the Jews constantly kvetch at Moses, if you know a lot of Jewish people, as I do, it's not too far-fetched to imagine them actually saying these things to Moses. Now, I can't think of too many other groups of people that were literally enslaved and then freed who complained that the food was better in the slave camp. You understand how strange this is? They basically say, yes, Moses, I know that I'm no longer forced to work all day in the hot sun. I get that I'm not being whipped anymore. I get that I can do anything I want now. But I'm telling you, the spread they had at that slave camp was phenomenal. That's what the Jewish people in the Parsha say. If you read it, it says, quote, "They gave us pots full of meat in Egypt. We ate as much bread as we wanted, but here the food stinks." In another Parsha in the Torah, there's a guy who starts naming every vegetable that the Jews used to eat while they were in Egypt. And you know he's a Jewish guy because he reminds us, the text says that he reminds us that the food was at no cost. This is the quote, it's from Numbers 11:5. He says, "Remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost? We also had cucumbers and melons and leeks and onions and garlic." This is how we know that the Torah must be true, because this is how we talk. Somebody wrote this Jewish dialogue down just as it happened. When I was an intern at a synagogue in Los Angeles, I was still just a student, but I got to intern at one of these synagogues in the valley that had a big Persian community. And my first Shabbat there was an enormous Persian bat mitzvah, and this family rolled out the red carpet, Kiddush-wise. The food they had at this Kiddush was immaculate. I still think about it. Years later, I still think about it. They had a challah in the social hall that, I kid you not, was like the size of a Toyota Corolla. I don't know how they got it in there. It was enormous. And then they made a chuppah in the social hall that just had food underneath it. There was all sorts of Persian cuisines that was beyond fantastic. They had like 9 different flavors of hummus. Then there was a whole falafel bar. For the kids, they had an ice cream sundae bar. They had the works. And keep in mind, this was my first Shabbat that I interned there, so I told myself, I can never go back to any other shul with just egg salad and tuna salad. This is my place, but I went back the next week. I'm watching everybody get their food at enormous Persian bat mitzvah, and there's this older guy who gets his bagel and his cream cheese, and he comes back to my table and says, "They call this a kiddush? They don't even have lox for their bagels." And all I could do was laugh, because this family had essentially rolled out an entire Persian supermarket at their kiddush. And this guy was kvetching because although they even included the very not Persian bagels and cream cheese, they didn't have one thing. They didn't have his lox. And then the guy said something like, "I would never pay for this." And someone else at the table was like, "Well, you didn't pay for it, so enjoy." This is how you know the events of Shemot really happened, because no matter how many miracles, friends, literally miracles God gave the Jewish people, no matter how many times God saved them, fed them, freed them, there's always one guy in the back saying, "Yeah, but the food was better over there." What is the nature about kvetching, complaining, that our people find so appealing? In case you didn't know, I actually didn't know this, I looked it up. The word kvetch means to squeeze in Yiddish. It's the word to squeeze, which is probably what Moses wanted to do to the necks of the people constantly complaining at him. There's something about human nature that all human beings, not just Jews, all human beings find necessary to talk about how bad things are and then compare it to how much better things could be or how much things better were. There's actually an art to kvetching because you have to find somebody willing to listen to you complain, and those people are hard to find, and when we do find them, we typically marry these people. And then there are people whose whole profession it is we pay them to complain at. These people are called therapists. We hire them to listen to us complain. That's their job. And as much joking as I'm doing about us complaining, there is something very therapeutic about just venting everything you're frustrated with. I think that's why people complain or yell at things that they know cannot complain or yell back. My father likes to complain and yell at the lawnmower when it won't start. He'll be out in the front yard just going to town, screaming, kicking. He knows it can't speak back. My mom used to complain at the dog when it dug in her garden. And a lot of people do this. They shout at the politicians on the TV. Have you ever seen this? Next time you're in an airport and they have CNN, there'll be some politician. People are screaming vehemently, and the person on the television can't hear what they're saying. Why do we do this? None of these people or things are going to respond back to us. So yes, while kvetching makes us feel better in the moment, certainly, does it really do anything? I want to remind all of us that all of the Jews that God liberated from Egypt, all of the ones that complained, the ones that plotted against Moses, and even Moses himself who complains to God, all of the people that complained eventually die in the desert. They personally never get to see the promised land. It's only their children who are allowed this privilege. And this is a very powerful idea, and it's one that we can apply to our own lives as well, because the more we complain, the more we kvetch, the less likely we are to ever cross into our own personal promised land. So remember what I opened with? Remember Shelley, my aunt's dog? I like to think that she found her promised land in my aunt's backyard. And even though the grass could certainly, maybe even literally, be greener on the other side, she recognized in her canine brain that what she had was pretty darn good. She wasn't even going to think about compromising that situation to what could be. Dear friends, I want to encourage us to be like this dog, content with what we have, knowing that maybe it's bad, but it could be a lot worse. Allow me to end with a quote from Rabbi Harold Kushner. He says, "If you concentrate on finding whatever is good in every situation, you will soon discover that your life will suddenly be filled with gratitude, a feeling that nurtures the soul." My prayer for all of us is that we can find the good in every situation. I pray that even if there's not lox at Kiddush, even if there's no Kiddush at all, we can still be grateful for what we have, and we can still enter our own promised land. Shabbat Shalom. Our sages tell us that on Friday night, angels from all over the world begin circling the universe to find people who are celebrating Shabbat, and they deliver heavenly messages to them. So I ask if you're able to do so, please rise. Shalom Aleichem is on page 73. We greet the Sabbath angels.
Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malchei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ani l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Kiddush is on page 76.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei porei hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvoto v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh boreshit ki hu yom techila lemigrahei kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
We remain standing. Aleinu is on page 56.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כאיי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו ככם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמן מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והושבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, כן נקבל לך אלוהינו לרוזק. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We turn to page 173. We have an opportunity to sing a prayer of healing, not only for those of us in our community, but people all over the world. Mishe Berach, please heal the world.
מי שברח Avotenu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Simple Best Shalom is acknowledging the yortzites of Ida Berger, Alan Abraham Brooks, John G. Salata, Gertrude Cohen, Emmanuel DeCoveney, Irene Dwosh, Lily Frank, Herbert Joel Forst, Ruth Herman, Harriet Hoffman, Dennis Mack, Rose Mandelbaum, Leo Moskowitz, Eva Paris, Max Peller, Charles Rosenmertz, Faye Roth, Yetta Rubin, Lester Joseph Seltzer, Lori Shapiro, Max Sherman, Cantor Joseph Schlisky, Harriet Silver, Raina Wax, John Yarbrough, Nathan York, and we're acknowledging the Shloshim of Elaine Jacobs. Mourners and those observing a yortzeit have an opportunity to say the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 58.
Yit Kadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divra kirute ve'amlich malchute. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yit barak v'yish tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit haleh v'yit halal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehei shalama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
May their memory be for a blessing. We now have an opportunity to hear some announcements from our synagogue president, Jared Finkelstein.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all of you here in the sanctuary, as well as our online community, and it really is great to see all of you on Zoom. You can join us tomorrow morning for Shabbat services at 9 a.m., also here in the sanctuary, well, here on campus or online via Zoom. A few events coming up. On Sunday, March 7th, you can enjoy the TBS Sunday Fun Day Comedy Night. It's featuring headliner Jessica Curson, special guest John Fish, and hosted by Eric Newman. You can find ticket information on our website. And this is going to be our major fundraiser for the year, so I urge you to participate by purchasing tickets, participating in our online auction, purchasing an ad. Also, since it's a virtual show, tell your friends, whether they're on the East Coast, anywhere, they can enjoy a fun evening, and we for sure will need a few laughs. So again, you can contact the office or purchase tickets or ads online. US Wine will be hosting the first drive-through Purim Carnival on February 21st. And given the creativity that DJ has shown so far, I'm sure it will be an amazing event. The Megillah reading will be on February 25th at 6:30 p.m. And I don't think anyone's dressing up this year. Well, we'll see. Okay, we'll see. February 7th at 10 a.m., the Women's League will hold their annual Torah Fund. Honoring Genevieve and Rabbi Hodson. Contact Kim Mimar for more information. Our adult education offerings for the coming week will be Radical Torah on Monday at noon, Essential Talmud on Tuesday at 11, and History of Zionism on Thursday at 4 p.m. These classes are taught online by Rabbi Goodman. Intro to Judaism, led by Rabbi Hodson, meets in person on Thursday at 7 p.m. And if you know of a temple member who's in the hospital, ill at home, or in a nursing home, please contact the temple office to let us know. Shabbat Shalom.
You know, I wish I could take credit for the carnival, but I can't. Our youth board, which is made up of all high schoolers, we have our annual Purim Carnival inside every year where we have like big bounce houses and all kinds of fun things. But this year I addressed the kids before winter break. I said, guess what, guys? We can't have our carnival. I said, but we need to have something. We need to do something to raise money for our youth group. And so the kids actually came up, the teens that run the USY, the youth board, they actually come up with the idea of doing the carnival and a drive-through experience. So completely their idea. The booths and the games are completely their ideas. And it's going to be an amazing time. We have Cirque du Soleil performers going to be there. We have all kinds of fun games and prizes, and all socially distanced from your vehicle. You never have to leave your car. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. That's on February 21st, open to the entire community from 12 to 2. Come have a good time.
Carnival. So, see, for once, you can't blame me on the bad pun.
No, I can't. I can blame the kids.
Theirs.
That's their
Nice. idea. Great minds think alike. Adon Olam, page 211.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem kol nitzin nivra, Le'nasa, V'hefso kol azay melech shemo nigra, V'hakare yilot hakol levado im lo nora, V'hu haya, V'hu hove, V'hu yeh, V'tifara, V'hu echan, V'ein sheni lechamshir lo להגבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, בלא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבלי ביצרה. והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנקוסי ביום אקרא. בידו אפקיד רוחי, והייתי שן ואירה. ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי, ולא אירה. נאי נאי נאי, נאי נאי נאי, נאי 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 nine 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 nine.
We end our services with the blessing, Yivarechecha, page 75. We're sending love and blessing to everyone.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yaseh lecha shalom. Nine 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 nine. 9999999999999. Shalom.
Adonai oz le'emo yitain, Adonai yivarek etzamo v'shalom.
Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Shalom, Salam Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Shalom. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu, Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
No locks at Kiddush, by the way.